CBS News weather producer David Parkinson is joining us now to talk more about this. So it was a terrible weekend for the central U.S. We're talking about storms, tornadoes, flooding. What will the rest of the week bring?
Well, unfortunately, it's more of the same in a lot of the same places. Unfortunately, you know, Ohio traditionally gets about 3 tornadoes in the month of May. They had 9 reports yesterday. There's a chance they get more today. So this is very active. Usually their season's a couple months later, and even then they only top out about 22 on average a year. So in terms of where the worst weather is today, there's 2 places. One, that what we saw last night is going to continue to move eastward. So we've still got to watch out an area from, let's say, Columbus through Akron to Pittsburgh to Harrisburg. That's the area shaded in yellow on the right. That's a 2 of 5 on the severe weather index. The place that is newly minted as a 4 of 5 is the area just north of Kansas City. So that's St. Joseph, Missouri, into parts of Iowa as well. So that's where we're most concerned for today. Here's the interesting thing, though. As you move this forward in time and advance it, you'll actually see that the places that we're concerned about for tomorrow, it's not actually all that different. As we actually just adjust it, you can see Dallas gets in on some of the severe weather action. Oklahoma gets in on a little bit more of it. But that same area from Indiana through Ohio through Pennsylvania, it's 2 consecutive days of seeing some severe weather there. So the pattern does start to moderate after that. But we've got this really active pattern where one pulse of energy after the other just gets funneled up through a very strong jet stream right into those areas from Oklahoma all the way up to Ohio. So it's extending a little bit further east than we would expect. But yeah, it's a really serious situation.
So what is causing these floods? I understand that there's an enormous amount of rain. Is it the fact that these rivers don't have any kind of protection or levees to prevent the flooding?
No, so we do have the levees. The question is, are the levees being overtopped, right? That's so when you look back at what we had in South Dakota and in Nebraska and in Kansas, this was months ago. Remember when we had Don Daler and DeMarco was still here at the time out there. And all of them were seeing these incredible record floods where they breached these levees. Unfortunately, it's had to make its way downstream. So you've already got some waters that are full. Then we've had a record wet spring, and then on top of that, that area shaded in blue on the map that you're seeing there, that's where the heaviest rain is going to be today. There's the potential for 6+ inches of rain there, so not only flash flooding, but you can see it's over an area that's still got a lot of reds and purples on there. Those are moderate or major flood stage. Combine those 2 things together, and you've got a serious threat for flooding today. But also, in terms of those pictures that you're seeing out of Arkansas and Oklahoma, that is where the rain is going to be tomorrow and then Thursday. So it's not nearly as heavy as it was last week, but when the ground is completely saturated, the rivers are completely full, there's nowhere for it to go, and thus you get more flooding.
I have a quick question. What is the definition of a flash flood? Does it have to sort of come at a certain rate, or? So
flash flooding is flooding sort of without warning, right? I mean, there's usually a flash flood warning, but it's instantaneous flooding. It's not because it's overflowing a river. It's because it's rained too hard for the ground to absorb.
And then very quickly, suddenly it stops absorbing.
So essentially the roads turn into rivers, right? Because there's nowhere for it to drain. It's raining too hard for the ground to absorb it. So what we'll have is this thing called flash flood guidance. And based upon how heavy the rain is in the previous days, we'll know how much more rain is necessary to create a flash flood. So when you've got a bone dry ground, it might be 5 or 6 inches per hour. When you've got a fully saturated ground, it could be just 1 inch an hour.
All right.
David Parkinson, thank you very much. Always illuminating. Appreciate it.
Sure thing.